Hello, hello, how's it going? I'm Hubsy Wubs, and welcome to part 2 of my game analysis with Combo Loco. In this video, we go over some gameplay decisions and general game flow ideas of a ranked Catan game that I played during my speedrun to Platinum. Enjoy! So let's hop forward here to this situation. So in this situation, Combo, I skipped over the Who to Steal thing.
Yeah, sure.
So in this situation, I end up pulling a mono. And I think on a board like this, I think it's always a great discussion to ask what should my plan be with a mono on this board? So chat, if you have any thoughts, and let me know if you want to clarify anything that I'm saying, Combo. But
No, the question here is what you said basically.
Yeah.
What to do.
Yeah, like in this scenario, chat, what kind of things are you looking out for? You're in my position. You have your 4 settles down. You have a 3-for-1. You have a wheat port. Your 5 ore is getting blocked. Given kind of the game situation here, what would you all look to do with a monopoly here? I'll give it a few seconds. Okay, Seidu's saying wheat mono late game. Maybe a sheep mono for multiple devs, but that's unlikely. Maybe a road play. Okay. I think all those are good things to point to.
Those are interesting, yeah.
I think those are all good points. Yeah, it is actually crazy in this scenario how... Yeah, okay. Booty's also saying probably wheat mono, very high wheat production. So, okay, we're seeing a theme kind of coalesce here. I guess wheat mono is most likely with the port. Yep. So, it's funny. I was not thinking so hard about a wheat mono here. I don't know why. I think that in the moment, I just distinctly remember not really putting a ton of thought into wheat as a good mono opportunity. But I think I ended up getting a little lucky in the game because, or not, well, sort of lucky. It's weirdly like lucky, but also unlucky because at least from my perspective, I think in retrospect, the wheat mono is a great call. Like, I think nobody has great port outs for wheat. Like, I have a feeling blue is going to be stuck with a bunch of wheat in hand. Like, orange is going to be stuck with a bunch of wheat in hand. Black may be stuck with wheat in hand, but they're more likely to port their sheep anyway. So, like, I have a feeling, not looking at how the game actually turned out, I think looking for a wheat mono would be fantastic because of my strong port and because just in the aggregate, the numbers would work out that way. I think based on how the game turned out, weirdly, there was never that much wheat to go around anywhere. It was really strange. Everyone was just it felt like everyone was very efficiently using their wheat. And maybe I missed out on an opportunity or two to get like 7 or 8 wheat at a point. Like, I'm sure there were opportunities like that there, but at the end of the day, it felt like there was never any screaming opportunity for for a wheat mono. But what are your thoughts, Combo?
Yeah. So I have as a comment right before this. First of all, yeah, the 11 was very helpful for you to settle on both 411 and the 9 3-1 port. Now, once you got the mono, I'm not saying this has to be a fixed rule, but let's call this as an ideal. Ideally, you want to have the mono to build cities, because that way, not only you can pace yourself when to build your city and be less of a threat, but also you can just figure out when is the right moment for stealing the ore. So it's not only you build with that, you build cities with either ore or wheat, depending on what you mono, but you also reduce the chances of the other players to get a city. It goes both ways in this case. Kind of like a zero-sum game. So what I have on my observations here is
with that Julia, mono, you're right. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. With that mono, I think it's a good moment to decide whether you want to go for road play or army play. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, one way to see it is if the 5 rolls few times and your 9 hit not so long ago, you can just snipe the ore from people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the case, or that's the scenario where I was thinking, yeah, you can city up and they can they will miss the chance to city up in that same orbit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and probably city up the 5, 9, 10. Even if I know it's more likely that that 5 will get the most blocks, but that will be from black. So unless black is the only one buying devs, that 5 ore will be defended
Mm-hmm.
by the other
Right.
3 players.
Oh my
Sure.
goodness. Wow. Pokani, thank you so much for the sub with the Prime. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Pokani. I super duper appreciate it. If you're here in chat, feel free to say hi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sorry. Also, yeah,
No, no, go ahead.
Yeah. Julia is. I think Julia is right that the 5 war was blocked for most of the game, but I think Black weirdly did have control of the robber more often
Oh, yeah.
than
Yeah,
expected. But yeah, and Booty seems to be mirroring your perspective here, combo, where Booty was saying, yeah, just focus on your win con, whatever your win con is, put the mono in towards that.
exactly. That's
And
what I was saying,
yep,
basically. Huh?
yeah, but yeah, Julia, you're exactly right that there was almost no ore all game. It was really barren because I think it was a combination of 5s not rolling very much, and it being blocked when the 5 did roll. So it really was tough. Oh, thank you so much, Bokani. I super duper appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate the Prime, and I really appreciate you being here. So thank you so much. I you, saw that you followed recently, and I think I thanked you for your follow in my stream last night. But I want to thank you again. Thank you, KSGK Chan. Thank you, Pokani, and thank you, Quick Draw, for your follows off stream. I appreciate it. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, no. It's always important,
Uh,
man. It's always
yeah,
important to shout out people.
yeah,
No,
absolutely.
the last thing I wanted to add with the mono in terms of, I mean, again, I don't like the word optimal, but let's just call it to
Sure.
get the best from it.
Hmm.
You want to have a city and a pool minimum with a mono in hand,
Right. Right.
and just find the right timing, right? Um, Also, in those terms, you can kind of pace yourself because it's better even if another player city ups first. That way, there is less. You make yourself even less of a threat.
Hmm.
Although I think in this point, most players did not see you pretty much as a threat. I think if I remember, blue was more targeted. I don't know how many. Do you remember how
Yeah.
many times you were still?
Oh,
Where is
I was basically never stolen from for the entire game.
okay? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was all
Yeah.
blue. Like it was 100% blue.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that's the downside of the Orwich chip player, right? That it's more
yep.
likely for other players to see that as a threat, even if they don't have a city.
Yeah.
Um,
And even at the end of the game, once I think I it shifted from blue to black. Uh
mhm.
and then but ultimately it was never me. It was really never me.
Yeah, I also remember. I mean, this is not related to the strategy part, but
Uh-huh.
I remember the Lobo to my Bob moment. Yeah, that's uh, that's a good table talk, man. I'm gonna take that into account in the future.
Wait, wait, what? Wait, what do you
I,
mean?
I think
Like
there
I
was a
remember the moment,
player.
but
I think it was a chat user lobotomy something,
yeah, there was a chat
or
lobotomy
just say
Bob, and
Lobo
I
to my Bob. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
it was pretty funny.
yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. Okay,
Mhm.
sorry, I thought you were tying it back into. I thought you were tying that back into something, but sorry, I.
No, no, no worries.
I'll put Lobo. I'll put Lobo on a shirt. Oh, the, we got a big old merch line coming along with
Oh,
all these
nice.
suggestions from people. Anyway, sorry. So yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. I guess I will. As I'm moving on to the next thing, do you have
Yeah.
any particular thoughts or any last second thoughts while I move on? Or are you good to
No, not
go?
really. It's just to think about depending. Of course, it depends on the scenario, on the context, right?
Uh huh.
But ideally, once again, you want to use it for. And of course, this also depends on if you go for army, you can pull 3
Right.
devs. If you want to go for just road or production, you do the
Hmm.
city plus dev pool. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So I
Which
guess
minute is this?
This
Just
is
to
224, 224.10.
okay, got it. Yeah,
I kind of skipped over the whether or not to take road early.
yeah, that's fine.
But in this situation, chat, I guess there were two thoughts that we wanted to bring up. The first thought is something that Combo wanted to bring up, which is I have a knight in hand. I rolled a 7 in this example. I rolled a 7. Who is the biggest threat? Who is the biggest threat in this position? Who am I blocking? Why am I blocking that? Like this position was really ambiguous. It was really, really ambiguous who the biggest threat was. So that's one thing. And the second thing, while we're getting chat's response on this, Seydu and Julia, actually, I think they're in the chat right now. They had a very long discussion about this over the course of the game. But
Oh,
while
really?
we're getting chat's response on who they would block and what their biggest threat is, there was a long discussion about whether to road settle on the 4 sheep at the top,
Oh, I see.
because there was some discussion as to whether, because there was a point in the game where I could have pointed 2 roads to extend on the 9 wheat as an example. I could have gone road to cut off black. And I didn't think I had the settle on that turn. I don't think I had the settle on that turn, but there was a lot of discussion as to whether it made more sense to road settle on the 4 sheep or road settle on the 9 wheat. Do you have any thoughts on that while we're compiling chat responses?
Sure. So let me ask you something. How often were you solo on the 9 wheat?
Never.
Never. Okay. Okay. I think in the
Basically never.
circumstances, and this will probably give away some of my answer about who is the threat here.
Okay.
But I think if you build to the 9 wheat, no one will really, or players won't really be be paying much attention to it, and mainly because if you look, you're actually helping the board in some sense, because
Yeah.
there is some potential for black to making a long road play if
Right.
they circle on the 8 and they go all the way down to the 9, right?
Yeah.
So by you going to not even necessarily you're gonna build again on the 9 width, but just by plowing or limiting the space to black reduces the chances of black to in the long run take road. So because that's their only network that they have available.
Sure.
So that's a way to see it.
Okay.
And that's what I asked you. How likely would you think you will be solo it? And based on the feedback you gave me, it doesn't look that you were gonna be solo it there. So it was
Right.
safer. It was safe to do that. I think no. I mean, actually, you tell me your thoughts. Why you chose to build on the 4 ship?
So essentially, my thoughts for the 4 sheep was I thought it would I so I thought that the 9 wheat would attract too much attention. Excuse me. First and foremost, excuse me. I think so Julia is pointing out in the chat that that settling on the sheep helps balance out your or wheat sheep hand a little bit. It evens out some of your production a tiny bit. It makes your sheep production a little bit more comparable to your wheat production. But I think at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, my main thought was just not attracting too much attention to myself. And I think, I have to admit, I maybe didn't put a ton of super deep thought into it, but that's where that came from. So, yeah.
No. Actually, I just wanted to hear what were your own thoughts at that moment, and you actually already provide them. So yeah, it's understandable if you wanted to stay low profile, which is another thing that as the more you play the game, you learn how to do it, or you get your own algorithm or your own tweak on how to stay low profile for most of the game. I think placing on the 4 ship is also reasonable.
But to your
And
point,
also
it's
sets you
not
for a
clear.
long road play, right? But my question then to follow here is, at this point after placing on the 4 ship, were you already committed to a road game? or not? That's
No,
the question.
no, I
Okay.
wasn't. I was
Okay.
100% yeah, I was 100% trying to not show my hand too early.
Mm, I
and
see.
and I also felt that because I had a knight, I felt that I felt that I would be able, and the fact that blue had two down devs that they hadn't played in a while, I felt
Mhm.
that they, yeah, no, thank you, Julia. Yeah, Julia, that makes sense. And yeah, the fours were kind of on fire. Hey there, if you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. It helps out the channel a ton. Anyway, back to the match. Yeah, and Booty is saying to that point that getting 3 wheat every 9 roll is 2/3 of a dev, so that is very fair. That
Yeah, that's a valid
so
point too, actually.
that's a
Mhm.
valid point. I but at the end of the day, I was a little confused. I think at this position in terms of what my game plan was. But based on what chat is saying, it sounds like chat is very much scared of blue. It
Mhm.
seems like
Mhm.
chat says blue is very scary. They have two down devs. They could take longest road. They look like they could be on their way to army. I think they had gone a turn without both of those devs, but also the 4 brick is kind of not that bad of a block for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just like didn't worry about playing a knight. um,
Right.
so it's not clear whether both of those cards are VPs or if there's a knight in there. So with that in mind, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think here, yes, blue is the definitely the one to be concerned because you can see that they have two down devs,
Uh huh.
and not only that, but they have the best road network. Just that
Yeah.
they haven't connected yet, but overall their network is pretty solid. They can connect on the 10-9 and 10-11, and then the 9-3 and the 11-4. So
Mm-hmm.
they can make a whole small area and continue building from top.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they haven't. My point here is they can reach to 15 if they want to, for the time being.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and in terms of where exactly to block them, it's a bit more tricky because they have
Yeah.
access to all resources. I mean, I would argue that the 5 would be, but I think it's still too early for you to self block you, considering that you need ore for cities anyway. So you already built
Mm-hmm.
5 settlements. Your next step ideally will be city up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I will go for the 10 break here.
Mm-hmm.
Not only because I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, so the 10 break is because I also want to keep
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
Orange on check
Yeah.
because I don't know. I mean, I'm actually impressed by Orange at this point. They managed to get to
Yeah.
5 now,
Yeah.
and you
There.
want to make blue show something. So that's why
Right.
I think 10 break is the best block at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I put on my notes that I would rather steal from Orange. I don't remember why exactly I wrote that. I think it's because of what they had in hand. Do you remember what
Sure.
they had there? Uh,
Oof.
it's hard to tell, right? I think they had something like a wheat, which I think would have been good for you. That's what I
Yeah.
had.
Okay. I
Pero
can do a little backtracking on the game log.
sure, sure.
Uh, they had. I think they had sheep and a brick or something like
Okay,
that. So
okay.
maybe the brick would have been good.
I think
But
I think the
and
one that got the wheat was blue then. So yeah, it's better to steal from blue just so you can buy a def
mhm.
or a hold for a city.
Right, right. Also, okay, Sadhu's bringing up also there was a triple date wheat, so they assumed that I would not be the target. So that's the thing, Sadhu, is I feel like if I were to cut off black, that basically kills their game. Like black is just dead in the water if I cut them off. And so yes, the triple shared 8 wheat is scary. Or not the triple shared, but the triple 8 wheat is scary, but like I don't know. It I'm not sure how much that affects their threat level. But anyway, yeah, I guess so combo.
Yeah.
For the sake of time,
Hmm.
there were 3 other points that we wanted to bring up. I unfortunately, would you be willing to cut it down to one of the 3? It's Picking
Yeah,
the right
sure.
time, to mono, pop or
No
hold, or
worries.
extend or not. Sorry, it's like the 229, the 233, or the 235. If you could pick one
Uh,
of those that you think is the most important, which one would you pick?
I think I would choose 229 because yeah, I want
229.
to go
Okay.
back to talk about the mono here.
Okay. So this is when that's spoiled it. Spoilers for people who didn't see it, but yeah, I that's fair, Sadhu, that there were hexes that looked scarier, but from but like I don't know. Just because there are hexes that are scarier doesn't necessarily mean that I'm safe. I guess is kind of where I'm aiming with that. Okay, 229.0. So I have the monopoly in this spot. Yeah, I have the monopoly in this spot, and I choose to use it. I choose to sheet mono here. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's fair, Sadhu. That's fair. I guess. Combo. Do you want to ask the question? Like, I guess is the question that you're asking is this the right time to mono? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it will be that, and the follow up is which resource.
Right. So
Mhm.
yeah. So
Okay.
chat. In this position, I choose to play my monopoly. Do you think this is the right time to monopoly? And if so, which resource makes more sense to monopoly? I this frame slightly gives away what my decision is, but it's fine. We're not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Depends on what's on the board. So okay, so yeah, so chat for reference. You based on if you see where my mouse is hovering, that shows that the number of question marks indicates how many of that resource is in people's hands. For reference, so like 3 question marks means that the resource deck is very full, which means that there's not a lot of that resource in people's hands. Whereas 1 question mark means that it means that there's a lot of that resource in people's hands. Sorry, I don't know if that answers exactly your question, Sadhu, but that's how I interpreted your question, Sadhu. So
And just to be more precise, I think if it's one question mark, that means that there is 1 to 6 cards of that resource on the bank.
yeah,
If it's 2 question marks, 7 to 12, and 3 question marks, 13 to 19. Just to give
right,
you the range as well as a
totally,
reference.
totally. So I'm guaranteed to get at least like 10 sheep and like 5 wheat. Math, yeah, yeah. Based on what I have in my hand. Yeah, yeah, Sadhu. That's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. Yeah, it's totally the number of question marks literally indicates they use that to try to replicate real life play where like you could literally look over at the real deck
Mm-hmm.
and see how tall each resource stack is. So you could see how much of that resource is in people's hands. And so they kind of simulate that idea with these question marks. And yeah, the more question marks under the resource, yeah, let's go, Julia. Absolutely. Yeah, that's huge. Like having this makes it so much easier to yeah,
To
it's
know what
that
to
makes it
mono, right?
so much easier to know
Mm-hmm.
what to mono without having to track rolls so hard. Like
Yeah.
obviously it's helpful to know the exact number if you know you need at least a certain number, you kind of need to track, but it's a kind of like it's a little cheat that you could use.
Well, it's
Okay.
not cheating. It's part of the game, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe a hack is a better way of putting it.
it's a hack. Yeah, it's a hack.
Um, yeah. Okay. Booty's saying that they would save the mono. Um,
Okay.
Sadhu is saying the sheep mono is interesting. It slows devs from blue. Okay. Yeah. And also, Julia, I'm glad you're excited. I'm glad you're stoked. Oh,
Excitement is always positive.
yep. Absolutely. We're all learning.
Mm-hmm.
Booty says wait for some 6s and 5s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sadhu's saying they don't know what other opportunity to mono I'm gonna get with the 8 wheat blocked. That's fair. Yeah, I'm liking all these responses. It's very diverse, which I think is good because I do think it's not very clear from this setup what the right monopoly is. It's not very clear to me what the right answer is. But yeah, I guess but I've put Combo on the spot a lot this stream, but I'm gonna put myself on the spot in this stream.
Yeah, put yourself on the spot.
In this position. And when I looked at this, oh hey Ben, how's it going? Welcome back to the stream. We're just doing some analysis with Combo Loco. He's a fellow prominent Catan player and newer streamer, so we're just having fun. I mean, I figured that an ore mono was basically never going to happen. That was basically my thought, especially because black is the one getting blocked pretty much exclusively here, and I think for good reason because they're very scary. And whenever black decides to get the knight off of the 8 wheat, they're just going to plop it right back on the 5 ore. So I figured ore is just not going to happen. For wheat, I think I maybe could have been a bit more patient and tried to mono for wheat here. I think there might have been opportunities in the future because I think that could have been an opportunity. However, everybody on the board was buying a lot of devs, so they weren't letting wheat stay in their hand for that long. And so at the end of the day, I picked sheep because there was a greater number. I still had the 3-for-1 ability, and I figured I would still be able to at least, I didn't figure this, but I think in retrospect the sheep mono makes sense because you can at least get a city dev out of it. Whereas if you mono for wheat here, I don't think you even get a city out of it. And yeah, it just takes resources out of people's hands. Oh, right. Yeah. So Julia actually commented on something where I think I had an opportunity before to do a wheat mono, and I didn't take advantage of it because I forgot that I had a mono in hand. But that's a different thing, I guess.
Does she remember how many wheats would you have gotten? Because that's key as well.
I think it was a 2 question marker. I don't think it was a 1 question marker.
Okay.
Right. So,
but you have the wheat port, so that's actually cheap.
And yes,
could be cheaper.
Yes, absolutely. But I guess given my perspective here, and Booty's saying that they like the dev here and playing for army, okay, and Seidu's saying they like the sheep mono, okay, that makes that's totally fair. Booty is also saying that it's not a weak mono, but they like to play greedy with this much wheat production. So with that in mind, okay, Ben says they like double roading to the 11-12. Yeah, that's something that that's definitely something that I had to think really hard about because I favored connecting roads more quickly over having a better road network, and I think it served me well down the line. But I can totally understand wanting to have a safer road network and go to the 11-12. But so Combo, what in this spot you have the mono? Do you use it? And if so, what do you use it on?
Okay, so I think the question that I didn't quite track when I was rewatching this game is how many ores were on the table, because right now there are 3 question marks, right? But even if they are like 3 or 4 of
then
those, that might be even worth it, because the way I was seeing is to go full on army and buy depths. You have
that's so interesting.
Good play for army and even snipe road for 1 of 2 orbits. So I think I talked this with you before. There are some cases where even if you don't have a city and you have 5 settles, and because of your production or how many resources you have in hand, you could make a play for taking both on the same orbit and keep there for maybe 1 or 2 more orbits.
Right.
One difference with rank here is that in rank this is more likely to happen because there is less likelihood for ranked players to coordinate. So if this was in a different setting with BC, it's more easier to coordinate of taking those win conditions from the leader. Like
Right.
people saying, okay, you take army, I take road, so this person doesn't win fast.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Also, to answer your question, there was no 5 in like the 3 orbits prior. So
Okay, then
so there was. I don't think there was any
ignore
ore
that
there.
option.
Yeah.
If that's not the case and there wasn't enough ore for doing that, I think the ship mono makes sense.
Okay.
Ship mono because it allows you to either city up and buy a def, I think, with with that amount, or pull 2 or 3 BPs, devs, I think.
Right.
Let me
Right.
see. I
Yep.
think you had like 14 or something. Can you just fast forward a bit
I
just to see
monoed
exactly how
for
many you
10
had in hand?
sheep. There were 10 sheep that I stole, but I had
10
14
sheep,
total at the
14
end.
total. That is it's slightly enough for the city, but not enough for
Yes.
city and def.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So
So yeah,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, I decided to just buy devs here instead of citying.
yeah.
And
I like the idea of deving because
dev
if you
double
city
road.
up, yeah, correct. Also, if you city up, it looks like people will start being more afraid of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Orange is the only one with a city
Right.
also, but you do have you will be having a city and I think one robber in hand, right? So you could
Yeah.
even argue that you and Orange will be on the same threat level. Of course, this is also assuming that blue. Well, it's hard to tell. Still think even if you know what, even if you city up, I still think blue will be the biggest threat.
I see. I
Long
see.
run, long run. I know. Black can make a play for what I was telling you before of army and road, but long run, I think if the let me put it this way: if the game lasts for like 90 turns or 80 turns, blue wins this. Um, but yeah, you were actually after you pull, I'm like, man, that's really lucky that you got the right depths in that moment.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and
Very much so. Very much.
but and
Yeah.
I told this to other people. I mean, is a game of Catan is both skill and luck.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
cannot get a tournament run without some luck involved. It's
Yep.
part of it.
That it is interesting, the idea of doing the 11-12 earlier instead of extending on the 4 sheep. That's a tough call. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But
Mhm.
anyway, yeah. I think for the
Well,
sake of
just
time,
yeah, I know for the sake
um,
of time, but I just want to
yeah.
point out quickly on the 236-45. I think. I
Yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
there is a moment where you are about to win. Is this that one? Two
No,
thirty
this is
six
right
forty five.
before. This
Oh
is
yeah,
like
just
this is
go
the turn
to jump to
before.
the
Is
yeah
this, right?
yeah this one. So that before that, I think in Blue's turn, I think there is some a bit of lack of self awareness from the table into pointing out that you can actually snipe road.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard for them considering that you got 3 VPs um, for them to figure that out. And but still, I think Blue should have spent resources into extending a bit, or ask for the board for the table to help him extend.
Yep.
Just wanted to add that observation in case if the future one of the viewers gets in such situation, uh,
Yeah.
and you need to help other to give you a chance to win as well. It's okay to do that. It's okay to do 3-1 trades or these kind of trades just to keep the game going because it gives you a chance to win as well. Not king
Yep.
making. This is not king making. I want to
No.
specify. This is
Yeah.
just extending the game.
Yep.